That's right.
Whether alcohol was a factor in these incidents, I do not know. In any event, alcohol at best can only be a partial explanation, not an excuse. When I was originally interviewed by the Washington Post, I honestly believed these events had never occurred. I denied them to the Post, to my friends, and to myself. I never consciously intended to offend any women. I therefore offer my deepest apologies to all those involved and to the people of Oregon. If I take the proper steps, I hope my past conduct is not unforgivable. To that end, I intend, 1, to request, and I will cooperate fully with, a Senate Ethics Committee investigation of this matter. 2, upon reflection, I realize I have problems and will seek professional advice in connection with my use of alcohol. 3, to take such other steps as may be appropriate. I take full responsibility for my conduct. At the same time, I am proud of the work that I have done in the Senate on behalf of the people of Oregon and our country. I am confident that I can address my problems and continue to be an extremely effective voice for Oregon in the United States Senate.
I'm not the only person.
2 alleged victims named in the Washington Post article do not buy Senator Packwood's statement.
It appears to be an attempt to blame his behavior, partially at least, on alcohol. And at least in the situation that I was in, there was no alcohol involved.
It's hard to believe the sincerity of the apology because of the Post's statement that he spent quite a bit of time and effort trying to cast doubt upon the characters of these women, to come up with counter allegations and to discredit their stories. And that doesn't seem to me like the behavior of someone who is remorseful or who is really willing to take responsibility for their actions.
This is a man who's behaved like this and professes not to remember his behavior. I would say he's got very serious problems keeping the public trust or doing the public job.
Now, here are some other reactions to the senator's statement tonight. Packwood aide Matt Evans says the senator will be evaluated by medical professionals to find out if there is a chemical dependency problem. And Evans goes on to say Packwood is not admitting that he made the unwanted sexual advances against the women, nor is he admitting that he has a problem with alcohol. Marcia Greenberger of the National Women's Law Center says, I wish that the behavior never took place, and I hope both the nation and Congress learn from it. Greg, Kathy, back to you.
Larry, have any other alleged victims spoken up?
We have not spoken to them directly, but Julie Williamson today said she talked to Mary Heffernan, a victim or an alleged victim who lives here locally, and Paige Wagers, who we talked with from Washington, D.C. earlier in the week. She says both of them also say that there was no alcohol whatsoever involved in those attacks. They do not buy this statement either. I'm sure more reactions will continue to pour in.
Okay, Larry Shoup with the first statement from Senator Bob Packwood.
Okay, thanks, Larry. Well, now the question is that statement today enough to pacify women's groups who are demanding the senator's resignation? Well, in a word, no. News 8's Pat Doris with that report.
I'd be happy to give the guy a break, but I don't want him as a United States Senator.
With that, former Supreme Court Justice Betty Roberts served notice. The war is not over. She believes Senator Packwood's statement about an alcohol problem is just another in a string of deceptions.
There is a deception issue here, and that is when he lied to the Washington Post and then attempted to discredit the victims, and then when he lied to the Oregonian. That is deliberate deception to avoid anything damaging to him until after the election.
Packwood's statement is a textbook apology. Even before it came out, political consultant Len Bergstein said it is exactly what Packwood should do to control damage.
And the other way is to say, I'm sorry, but it's really part of a bigger problem. I've got an alcohol problem, I've got some other problem that I'm addressing in another way. And so it's not a question of me, having sexual harassment as a consistent part of my behavior pattern, but I have a behavior disorder.
But Roberts says it's not nearly enough.
No doubt about it. We certainly will just proceed with where we were going in the first place.
Roberts says she and other women's rights leaders believe a majority of Oregonians now want Bob Packwood out of the U.S. Senate, and they refuse to ease up on the pressure until he resigns. Pat Doris, News 8.
Betty Roberts speaks for a coalition of women's groups that's calling for Packwood to resign. She tells News 8 the group is still working on a possible recall of Senator Packwood.
Well, the other big news, of course, today is the first official day of the Christmas shopping season. After 3 dismal seasons, the big question for retailers is, will shoppers spend more money this year?
Well, News 8 consumer editor Tom Fuller has been cruising the malls all day looking for an answer to that. I have to tell you, Tom, again, you're one of the bravest guys I know out there in the middle of it all today. How are things looking out there? What's the mood?
Well, actually, Greg and Kathy, compared to last year, the streets are pretty crowded with shoppers here on this, the first day of the official day of the Christmas shopping season. And the mood that we found today is one of quiet optimism in the stores and the malls around the area. Most of the folks we talked to are hopeful that this year we'll see the end of the consumers' bah humbug economic mood.
We're definitely doing better this year than last year.
So more under the tree.
Yeah.
More under the tree. That should be reassuring news to retailers who opened their doors and cash registers today, hoping to improve on the last 3 years when the mood of consumers was pretty dismal.
It's going to be smaller because we don't have as much money.
Really?
Yeah, but we're going to do a lot more homemade things, start some family traditions.
But this year, things in the economy are much better. Personal income shot up 1% last month. Consumer spending was up 2%. That has retailers forecasting everything from 0 to nearly 10% growth in sales. But the word from Oregon State economist is be conservative.
So I don't think you're going to see a big increase on a per-person basis after you adjust for inflation.
But just outside the state capitol, the streets of Salem looked more like New York City, wall to wall with shoppers. And at Clackamas Town Center, consumers filed steadily into stores and were in a buying mood.
Well, let's get it, huh? Merry Christmas.
Why are people saying they're going to spend more? Bonnie Matson from Eugene is typical of a lot of folks this year. She says as they do better on the job, the family benefits.
My husband and I have a better job situation. Doing pretty good.
And that's the word we got from a lot of people. Better jobs, better times ahead. For retailers who bank on nearly half their yearly sales coming during the Christmas season, it's about time.
Just a lot of exciting things happening. It's excellent.
As typified by that woman, you can tell that consumers are feeling a lot more confident this year. In fact, the level of consumer confidence has gone up, shot up really 11 points. That's the highest level since the end of the Gulf War. Now, 2 reasons for that optimism that we heard today. One, the election of Bill Clinton to the White House, and secondly, the large number of mortgage refinances that have put, in some cases, hundreds of dollars into the wallets of consumers. Greg, Kathy?
Stores in Portland and Salem look like they're doing great, Tom. What do we know about the rest of the state, though?
Well, Greg, as we've seen during this recession, Portland has and will continue to do better than the rest of the state. Paul Warner told us this afternoon that those counties dependent on a timber economy will do flat, maybe even lose ground in their Christmas sales this year. You can't lose 14,000 jobs statewide and not have it affect the pocketbooks of retailers.
Thanks for the outlook, Tom. Tom Fuller reporting live.
Thanks, Tom. Well, some people avoid shopping like the plague, but for others, malls are a haven. Why? Well, like so many things, it may go back to your childhood. A recent survey by an Oregon State University student shows compulsive shopping habits may be linked to family problems during the shopper's childhood. Dozens of consumers with varying degrees of addiction to spending were surveyed for this. The results, well, a number indicated they shopped when their self-esteem was low or when they were having personal problems. The study also found that it's the image surrounding a product and not the product itself that appeals to most compulsive shoppers. Kathy?
You know, Greg, stress, too, is one unfortunate component of family gatherings during the holidays. It seems you can't always get 10 people to sit down to a Thanksgiving meal without an argument, and sometimes it accelerates into violence.
I think this time of the year just brings it on in people.
Officer Roger Rothwell is talking about families in trouble.
Generally, I expect to have a number of family disturbance calls on my shift. I think Christmas, between Thanksgiving and Christmas, they seem to pick up a lot more.
Rothwell says alcohol is always a contributing factor, and when people spend too many hours together in a confined area, things don't always go well.
More often than not, someone has already left when we get there, and, you know, we just see the damage that's been left behind.
Metro Crisis, may I help you?
Stress and depression lead people to call the Metro Crisis Line more frequently during the holidays.
Our expression is whenever you have the love holidays, that the count goes up some.
Those love holidays lead some people to contemplate suicide.
It's a time when we're supposed to be loving and caring, and a time when we're supposed to be sharing. And so for those families that are having difficulty with that to begin with, the stress goes up.
On a normal day, Metro crisis counselors will handle 60 to 80 calls per shift. They were taking double the number of calls today.
The holiday itself, whether it be Thanksgiving or Christmas, generally the activity level is not high here. It's like the day before when people are preparing for the holiday, or it's the day after when they haven't had the families, and it sort of sinks in.
The Metro Crisis Line provides counseling and referrals. Their number is 503-223-61.